Maria Santoro was born on a night when lightning split the sky and thunder shook the village to its foundations, a night so wild that the midwife whispered to her mother that this child would carry fire in her soul. From the first, Maria seemed attuned to the world in a way others were not. She would stare at the storm, her small hands pressed to the window, as if listening to the earth itself. Her parents, devout Catholics, taught her the prayers and the rituals, but Maria's faith was not in words alone. It was in the way the light fell through the chapel windows, the way the river curved like a gentle hand, the way the villagers' lives intertwined like threads in a tapestry. As a child, she wandered the cobblestone streets barefoot, carrying scraps of bread to the hungry, mending the wings of fallen birds and listening to the stories of the elderly. She discovered that the smallest acts could make the deepest impact. Yet even in these innocent years, Maria felt an invisible pull toward something greater, a life that demanded courage, sacrifice, and unshakable love. When she was 16, the river that ran through the village overflowed with a fury that no one had seen in decades. Houses were swallowed, animals were lost, and panic swept through the streets. While neighbors fled, Maria ran into the floodwaters, lifting children onto her shoulders, dragging the elderly to higher ground, and soothing terrified animals. For the first time she understood that faith was not merely a comfort, it was a call to action. That night, soaked and trembling, she whispered to herself, "This is how God speaks." The flood became a turning point. Maria left her village for Rome, determined to serve in the hospitals where the suffering was greatest. There, she encountered pain and desperation unlike anything she had seen before. The fevered children whose families had no money for medicine, the lonely elderly who no one visited, and the soldiers scarred by war, both in body and spirit. She worked tirelessly, often through the night, and her presence became a beacon of hope. Her colleagues admired her but could not understand the source of her endurance. Maria simply said, "I carry them in my heart and God carries me." Life, however, was not without its tests. In her 30s, Maria received a letter. Her mother was gravely ill. Torn between her duty in Rome and her love for her mother, Maria boarded the first train home. She spent days and nights at her mother's bedside, holding her frail hand, singing hymns and praying for strength. It was a time of profound struggle. She realized that holiness was often quiet and painful, found not in heroic acts alone, but in the willingness to endure suffering for the sake of love. Years passed, and Maria's life became a mosaic of small, almost invisible acts of devotion. She fed the hungry at dawn, taught children to read at noon, visited prisoners in the shadows of the evening, and comforted the dying in the hush of night. People began to whisper of her as a living saint, but she never sought recognition. To Maria, sainthood was not a title, it was a way of life, a refusal to turn away from suffering, a choice to love without expectation, and a courage to act when the world preferred indifference. One winter, a fire broke out in a poor neighborhood of Rome. Maria, hearing the cries, ran toward the flames while others ran away. She pulled a mother and her children from the burning building, her clothes scorched, her hands blistered, yet her heart steady. That night, as she sat with water on her wounds and the smell of smoke lingering on her hair, she realized that faith demanded more than prayer. It demanded bravery, often at great personal cost. In her later years, Maria fell ill. Yet even as her body weakened, her spirit remained luminous. She spent her final months teaching the young, comforting the sorrowful, and writing letters of encouragement to those who had lost hope. When she finally passed, the entire village came to her funeral, not out of duty, but because they had been touched by a life lived entirely for others. Her story spread, quietly but profoundly, becoming an inspiration for countless lives. Maria had never sought fame or accolades. Her sanctity lay in her ordinary, extraordinary choices: to feed the hungry, to visit the lonely, to carry hope where there was none. Her life was a testament to the truth she had learned long ago on that stormy night. Being a saint was not about miracles or recognition. It was about love, courage, and faith in action, lived daily until the very end. And in every act of kindness, every quiet sacrifice, every whispered prayer, Maria's spirit remained, reminding the world that true holiness is not distant. It is alive, waiting for those willing to answer its call.